learning to construct an equation of a straight line. So if we are constructing a equation for the straight line, we need to be thinking about the m refers to gradient and c refers to where it crosses the y-axis in the standard form y equals mx plus c. So the first thing I'm going to look at here is my gradient. We can clearly see is it goes across 1 up 2. So my gradient will be 2 over 1. And we can also see that my y-axis, my line crosses the y-axis at 3. So if I put those points into my equation, I get y equals 2x plus 3. Now, in terms of point-intercept form, I'm personally not fussed about you memorizing this form because it's about being able to transpose. Now, I see this form straight away from the gradient. M is equal to the change in y over change in x. If I if I do the opposite here and times both sides by the change in x, it turns into my point-intercept form. So again, for me, make sure you're not just memorizing formulas, you actually understand where it comes from, because it makes it easier on when you're applying everything. Okay, a line with gradient 6 and a point 6 and 13. Now, for me personally, I like to go through using y equals mx plus c method. So I'm going to do it both ways just so we can see what method you prefer. So first thing I'm going to do is go y equals m is 6 plus c. Now here I've got one x point and one y point. So I'm just going to substitute those values in to work out what c will be equal to. So y is 13 equals 6 times negative 6 plus c. I can go 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. And the next part is I need to get negative 36 away. So I'm going to add it to both sides. And that gets me c is equal to 49. I can rewrite my equation. I know my m is 6. And I know my c is 49. If I do it in this method here, my gradient is m is 6. X take away the x point of negative 6 is equal to y take away the y point of 13. I can expand by going negative and negative to positive, so I'll rewrite this. X plus 6 equals y take away 13. I expand the brackets. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 6 is 36 is equal to y equals, so y take away 13. And I plus 13 to both sides, and that will give me y is equal to 6x plus 49. So I've done it both ways. It doesn't matter what method you use. It's about you must understand where a formula comes from. You can't just accept it. A line with points at 2, 5, and 740. So again, with this one, it's I'm going to use point intercept form. So m x minus x1 is equal to y minus y1. I've just kept it in brackets because I think about it, it comes from the gradient formula. So now I'm just going to first work out my gradient on one side. So m, I will label this x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I'm just going to go, okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, change in y over change in x. I'll substitute those values in. y2 is 40, take away y1 is 5, over x2 is 7, take away x1 is 2. I'll finish this off. 40 take away 5 is 35. 7 take away 2 is 5. M is equal to 35 divided by 5 equals 7. Okay, so if I'm going to find the equation, I just need to pick one of those 2 points and use my gradient. I'm going to always use the smallest numbers to make it easier for myself. So that means I'm going to have 7x take away 2 and y take away 5. Because I picked this x, I had to use that for y. I'm going to simplify that by expanding the brackets. Whoops. 7 times x equals 7x. 7 times negative 2 equals negative 14 is equal to y take away 5. And then I'm going to get 5 to the other side, so I can have y by itself. So I'm adding 5. That will give me y equals 7x. Negative 14 plus 5 equals negative 9. Okay, let's look at the next question. A line with gradient negative 3 and it touches the line y equals 4x plus 10 at the x-axis. Okay, so if we know the gradient and we know it touches this line at the x-axis, so what does it mean by x-axis? Well, we know if it's at the x-axis, then our y is going to be 0. So let's find out what that x point is. So I'm going to substitute that in. Y is equal to 4x plus 10. At the x-axis, y is 0. I then take away 10 to both sides. And I divide everything by 4. So negative 10 over 4. I can simplify that if I wanted to negative 2.5. Okay, so that gives me a x point and a y point. The next step that I'm going to look at is then using that point and my gradient in terms of the rule. So the rule was m in brackets x take away x1 is equal to y take away y1. Remember, this comes from the gradient formula. Next step, I plug everything in we have. So here I've got this is my x and this is my y. So x take away negative 2.5 is equal to y take away 0. This becomes positive because negative from negative is positive. And then I just expand it. Negative 3 times x and negative 3 times 2.5. So negative 3 times x is, well, negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2.5 is negative 7.5. And then we got equal to y. So I can rewrite this. Y is equal to negative 7x. Sorry, negative 3x take away 7.5. Okay, just remember this is your turn now. So if you haven't been pausing, having a go yourself, I do encourage you to do that. A line with gradient 4 and points at 2 and negative 11. So the same thing, I'm going to keep using the point intercept form, which is m in brackets x take away x1 is equal to y take away y1, and purely because it becomes easier as we do it and quicker. I know my gradient is 4. I know this is my x1 and this is my y1, so I'll put those into my formula. X take away 2 in brackets, y take away negative 11. I simplify this now. So by expanding my brackets, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, is equal to y plus 11. I take away 11 from both sides to get y by itself. So that gives me y is equal to 4x, and I've got negative 8 take away 11 equals negative 19. If I've got a line with points at 3, negative 5, and 7, 11. So I'm going to use the gradient formula to first work out the gradient. So m is equal to y2 minus y1, change in y over change in x. I'm just going to label this as x1, y1, x2, and y2. The next step that I'm going to do is substitute those values in. So 11 take away negative 5 over 7 take away 3. So a negative is a positive, so it's actually saying 11 plus 5, which is 16. 7 take away 3 is 4, and m is equal to 4. So now I've got my gradient. The next step that I would like to do is write out my point-intercept form, which is m in brackets x take away x1 is equal to y take away y1. I'm going to use my smallest point just so it makes it easier. Just remember though, it doesn't matter what one you do. If you want, do the other one and we can check our answer to see if they are the same. So I've got my gradient here of 4, and then I've got x take away 3 is equal to y take away 11. I will expand my brackets. 4x take away 12 is equal to y take away 11. And then I need to add 11 to both sides. And that gives me y is equal to 4x. Negative 12 plus 11 is negative 1. So I get y is equal to 4x take away 1. Okay, let's look at this equation. A line with points at 3, negative 5, and 7, 11. The first step that I would be doing is I'm going to find the gradient. So gradient is equal to change in y over change in x. I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2, and I'm going to substitute those values in. y2 is 11, take away y1 is negative 5, over 7, take away 3. I can simplify this. 11 take away negative 5. Negative is a positive and leaves me with 16. 7 take away 3 is 4. The gradient equals 4. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at point-intercept form. So m in brackets x take away x1 is equal to y take away y1. I know my gradient already is 4. I'm going to use just one of these points, the one I put in a circle because it's smaller numbers. So x take away 3 is equal to y take away negative 5. I'm going to expand and simplify. So that means I've got 4 times x equals 4x. 4 times 3 equals 12. Y take away negative, that means it's plus. So y plus 5. And then I will take y, I'll get y by itself. So I'm going to take 5 on both sides. Y is equal to 4x. 12 take away 5 is 7. So we should have y equals 4x plus 7. Okay, the next question is a line with gradient negative 2 and touches the line y equals 6x plus 12 at the x-axis. So we are going to do the same thing that we did before, but this time I'm just going to write down this equation. I'm going to use this equation here to find the coordinate that it touches the x-axis. And we know when it touches the x-axis, we need to let y equal 0. So we will go y is equal to 6x plus 12. I will then make y 0. So 0 is equal to 6x plus 12. I'll take 12 to the other side. So it becomes negative 12 equals 6x. And finally, I'm dividing both sides by 6. And that will give me negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. The next part is we know where it crosses at negative 2 and 0. So now I've got my gradient here. I can then use point-intercept form. M x minus x1 is equal to y minus y1. So m is going to be negative 2. X minus my x1, so here on the bottom, I'll put x1 and y1. So that will be negative 2 and equals y take away 0. I can simplify this. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. That becomes a plus in the middle, so I'll put it there. So it'll be negative 2 times 2 equals negative 4 equals y. I'll rewrite it so y is out the front instead of on the right hand side. So we should have y equals negative 2x take away 4.